The role of a Scrum Master prior to PI planning, it is very, very important. Because what you will do the 3 weeks before PI planning will set you up for a good and a better PI. So, before I dive in and start talking about what I will do prior to PI planning, let's first summarize and talk about what is PI planning. PI planning is program increments where in SAVE it's practice where we look at what other next deliverable as a company, agile release train on the art, what other initiative, futures, team as a whole will plan to deliver in the next PI. So the company and everyone meets during PI planning and have these meetings between teams and go through all of this planning and discuss ways we can do these next deliverables. And the focus on this topic today is to discuss the role of a Scrum Master on what would I do as a Scrum Master prior to PI planning to prep my team and get my team kick-started ahead of time before PI planning. As we all know that when it comes to PI planning, it is very stressful, and sometimes everyone is so stressed about this 2 days event. But I'm going to be discussing things you can do prior to that meeting that can set you up for greatness. Welcome back to Aisha Scrum platform, and I'm very happy to have you all today. So let's deep dive into this. When it comes to PI planning, it is very important to know that you must plan ahead of time. You can't just go in for those 2 days event without taking your time to meet together as a team and discuss what you plan to present or deliver in the upcoming PI. So I'm going to be discussing things that I've done that help prepare my team and prepare everyone in the team for the PI planning itself. So the first thing that I've done before I go into PI, and usually I do this 3 weeks prior to PI planning, and sometimes it can be a month depending on the kind of product we are working on, or depending on how the current PI have been going through. If we are faced with a lot of challenges, a lot of risks, and sometimes I will even start this a month ahead. But if my team, everything is going on fine with the current PI, I usually will start 3 weeks ahead. But the first thing I've always done is to connect with my PO one-to-one and ask the PO, okay, let's talk about our current PI. Let's say our current PI is called PI 2.0. So let's talk about PI 2.0. Where do we currently stand with our PI goal? How are we doing? I know sometimes we can get this during the team itself, but the product owner, they truly understand about the futures and the epic and the true product we are working on. So I always like to do that connection one-to-one and ask, how are we doing as a team in the product wide? How is our current epic? Where do we stand with it? I know sometimes in team, we always focus on user stories, tags, and bugs and all of that. But this meeting that I'm connecting with the PO, I'm talking about the high level stuff, which is your futures and your epic. And you're asking about, okay, with this future and epic, where do we currently stand at the team? How is our epic goal? How is our future goal? Are we in line of getting our PI goal? I know we have 3 more weeks or a month left before our upcoming PI planning. So far as a team, where do we currently stand? So hopefully the PO, I will see too, the team overall is doing good. Hopefully we're working towards our goal. We are in a place of achieving our goal by the end of the PI, right? And if we are, then that's very good, because then the next question will be, what is our next epic we will plan to work on in the upcoming PI? What is our futures can be? Because I know some company they work on future and some company they focus on epic. So it depends either or. At that moment we are talking about high level user stories. And is it going to be in a future or an epic? So if so, what are those? But let's say the team have been having challenges and we had a lot of dependency, we have a lot of risks, and I'm asking the PO okay, so where do we currently stand with our epic or with our futures? Are we in a position to deliver our PI goal? And the PO oh no, we're not, because we're not able to complete most of it. All this user story is still open. we have 3 more weeks left in this PI, so I will highly encourage us for us to look at overall our epic and see where we currently stand. So the next thing I'm asking the PO is, among all of our current epic, which one must we complete, right? I know sometimes we do that too for user story before we even commit to those stories during the sprint planning. But in this case, I'm asking the PO, we have maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 epic we are currently working on this PI. These epics that we currently have, since we are at risk of not completing all of them, so in the next 1 month that we have left, which one is the highest priority epic we can work on right now as a team and hopefully get those out of the way? It may be like it's an epic that's needed from the end user and something that cannot wait to the next upcoming PI. So that's something that I'm collaborating with the PO ahead of time and look at how we can prioritize the epic so that when we go for our next sprint planning, we are ensuring that those highest priority epic will be completed before the PI ends. So that's something I'm going to first address, to first assess my current situation, right? Before we start talking about the next PI goal, the next epic goal and all of that, the goal is to first assess where you currently stand as a team. And hopefully with that assessment, you can overall go into your next PI knowing where to start. So that's first thing I always do. So the next thing I'm doing too is to go to the Scrum team, right? And there's no better person that will know the true update about your progress, about your work, than the Scrum team themselves. So I'm going to the Scrum team and ask the team, by the way, I know we have 3 more weeks left before this PI ends, and we have this epic, we still didn't close these epics yet. So how confident are you all regarding us completing this epic before our PI ends? How confident are you all? What are other risks are we facing? What are other challenges are we facing? Do we have more dependency, which hopefully we've already cleared out, right? But if not, what else is blocking us from completing this epic as a team? I know we have some user stories still connected to this epic, and hopefully we're in line to complete this work. So I'm asking the team to get a feedback from the team, so hopefully the team will be in the same page where we all are good and everything is working, and that's fine, right? If everything is good and we are in a position of completing all those required PI goal, then guess what? Then we can now jump on the next upcoming PI and start discussing those epic. So let's say the team said that, oh, we are good, or no, we still have challenges, there's a chance that we might not complete this epic, and that's something hopefully together as a team we'll come together and decide on which epic that will be its potential spillover. And then as a Scrum Master, I'm also encouraging the PO to go to the program manager or the portfolio manager and hopefully try to get some buy-in for my team. Like if there's some case we can complete some of this epic. And please try to reprioritize it and see which one can we at least complete in the next month or 3 weeks. So hopefully that will be cleared up. So let's say our current situation is cleared and our epic have been in line and maybe we can close all our epic. So next thing I'm connecting with the PO is to ask, okay, now that we have 3 weeks prior to PI planning, what are the epic or features that will be assigned to our team? What are those items? What are those epic? What are those features that will be the next item we're going to be working on in the upcoming PI, in PI 3.0, right? Because right now we're in PI 2.0, that's example. So what are the epic and the future for PI 3.0? If so, okay, let's say the PO have them, and sometimes I know it depends on company preference. Some company we do get this epic and feature ahead of time, right? I know sometimes some company people can get this 2 weeks prior to PI, it all company based. And the PO will tell me, okay, we have them, and these are the list of epic I'm given. Alright, so I'm looking at the list of the epic, so the next thing I'm doing is setting up a meeting with the team. And I call this meeting the pre-PI planning prep. So I start the pre-PI planning prep 3 weeks prior to the PI. And this meeting involves the whole Scrum team. And it's very important that when you're doing this pre-PI planning prep, it shouldn't just be between you, the Scrum Master, and the product owner or the release train engineer. Sometimes I know we will connect with the leadership and everyone, but it's very important that this epic that has been assigned to your team, you should bring it to the team. Because why? It's the whole Scrum team responsibility to get this epic, turn it into increments, right? So address this epic and bring this epic to the team or the future, depending on how your team is calling it. You present this to the team and you ask, okay, based on this epic we are giving in this future, so do we have the experience and the skill sets needed to get this epic to done? Are you all familiar with this epic? Or is this something totally new? Do we have to set up an environment for this next product, the next work we have to do? If so, what else do we need? We already started creating conversation around that. And let's say the team member like, oh, I'm not familiar with this. So I'm like, okay, so who else can help us? So now as a Scrum Master, I am investigating who else can support my team. So I can start knowledge transfer ahead of time. And during that IP sprints, we can use that and do knowledge transfer or any trainings that's needed to hopefully the next epic we are being assigned to, we'll start getting idea about them ahead of time before we even start doing the development work. So I'm doing that with the pen. So the next thing I'm assessing is to ensure that the team members that I have in my team, they all will be dedicated 100% to that project, to my team. I know that people are asking, what do you mean by that? Because it's actually very important, because sometimes for a whole PI, you can get like your whole team. And for the next PI, some of them might have other requirements or other projects they have to work on or help other people. So every PI, before I start a new PI, I always will ask this question: oh, do we have all the resources needed? Do we have all the dev team, our current team dynamic? Are we going to be maintaining the same team dynamic going to the next PI? So I'm asking that question. So let's say that, okay, we have some of the team members will be dedicated 50% in this product, and we have them dedicated to 50% on another product. Why is that important for me to know that? People ask me, right? It's very important because when it comes to my capacity planning, so I can better do my capacity mapping and only account for 50% for this particular developer. So I'm not accounting for 100% to my team when they will actually will not be available for the 100%. So that's why it's very, very important to also know if you truly maintain the same team dynamic going through the next API. Okay, so let's say now the team and everything, we have the same amount, the same people going through the next PI, and we already have our epic, the PI starting up in the upcoming sprints. So the next thing I will also do is to now set up a meeting, ask the PO to set up a meeting regarding the pre-PI planning prep. And the pre-PI planning prep, and that's the meeting where so as a team, we'll now connect and collaborate where we are breaking the epics to user story. And that's something, it's not only a product owner responsibility, that's everyone in the Scrum team's responsibility to ensure that those epics are now broken down to a user story. And hopefully as a team, because remember, the product owner, they are coming from product. It's true they have knowledge of the product, but the developers, they also are the people that know the true technicality of things when it comes to developing that work. So that's why both the product and the engineering must collaborate and discuss ways how we can turn this epic to user stories. And as a team, we also should estimate our epic. It's very important for us to start estimating our epic that we are assigned to as a team before we even start estimating the user story. And we estimate our epic in t-shirt sizing, right? Using the extra small, the medium, and the large. So in epic, as a team, we will compare, do the relative estimation with the t-shirt sizing with the epic. So hopefully after we can see among all the epic, which one is more complex for us to do as a team. So ahead of time, we're already knowing the challenging stories to work on and which one will take less effort to complete. So that's why it's very, very important to also estimate the epic together as a team. And when we do start breaking our user story down as a team and we have this conversation, and that's something we'll continue to meet at least 2 to 3 hours daily until hopefully fully break down our epic prior to PI planning. Very, very important. And in that case too, I will set up a 1-hour meeting for capacity planning. And I will do capacity planning because I'm trying to do capacity planning for the whole PI, for the PI 3.0. And the capacity planning, that's something that I have to map out already on my spreadsheet. And I'm asking each engineer in the team, is there any planned PTO? Is there any vacation time? And I already automatically will take out the holidays already. I'll take off onshore holiday and offshore holiday. Don't forget, don't just do onshore holiday and forget about offshore holidays. If you have a team member that are offshore, they're from a different part of the world, don't hesitate to ask them if they have their holidays, so you can add their holidays also in your capacity planning. So I'm already doing this ahead of time, but as we continue to plan and even get to the day of the PI planning, that's something I'll continue to revisit and readjust until we finally get our overall capacity for the PI that's about to start. So let's say now we already got that ahead of time, and the team will continue to break the user story, and they'll start breaking up the stories. And the next thing I'm doing is to ask the team, so who are we depending on? Dependency. What are our risks? What are other unseen risks that might happen, or challenges we might face as a team about this next upcoming PI that's coming up? So if we are depending on another team outside of our team, then as a Scrum Master, I'm already linking up and connecting with that Scrum Master from that different team. So I'm linking up with them, doing a one-on-one with them, and just tell them about, okay, we are assigned to this future, and it looks like my team is depending on yours. So I'm just telling you ahead of time, so we can just start building this relationship among us, because going forward, we're going to be working together for the upcoming PI. And I just want to let you know, I want us to just link up and see how ways we can work collaboratively to help these teams to deliver this value. The next thing, if we do identify our dependency, so then I will able to set up in our PI planning dependency meeting. Yes, even before the PI itself. So then I'm getting the team members from that different department and my team members, and we are doing like a sync up meeting about the work itself, to have a discussion on that epic itself, that we all are collaborating and working together. We are identifying the risks, and that meeting we are also determining who is going first and which sprints are we actually assigning this work on. Let's say we have this team A and team B, and team A is dependent on team B. So team A will tell me on what sprints do they plan to do their work. Hopefully, they can determine that, so then team B can better plan to ensure that as soon as team A complete their work, then team B can now take on that item and complete their own part. So it's very important to start all this conversation early and over time. So when you go through the breakout room session during PI planning, you just continue from where you left off. You're just having that validation from each team. So I'm also identifying that. So let's say we already identify our dependency, we already identify our risks. So the next thing now as a team, we are also determining which epic it will be assigned to what sprint. If so, is there any correlation within the epic? Is there any sequence? So that's something I'm asking the whole team. Is there any sequence? Is there any other thing that's going to be built up of anyone? If so, what sprints are we assigning these stories? It's very, very important, right? Because we all know that sometimes we have 5 sprints in one PI. It depends. I've seen also a company having 6 sprints in one PI. So we have to determine in which sprint are we doing what? Which epic or which story is going in what sprint? If so, I'm also looking at my capacity at that sprint, and looking at the workload and looking at my capacity, the current available velocity we have, and comparing it with the workload for each sprint. It's very, very important we know that ahead of time. Why is that? Because we don't want to overcommit, and when it's now time for us to deliver, we realize that, oh, we don't have a lot of people in this sprints too. We don't have a lot of people in sprint 3. So we have all this work spread out for sprints 2 and 3, but we don't have enough developers that will be working in sprint 2 or 3. So in that case, we also have to go back and realign how we can distribute the work as a team. So that's why it's very, very important for a Scrum Master to start all of this planning and discussion prior to PI planning. I like to do mine 3 weeks prior to PI planning. So let's say now we started to map out and look at our capacity for each sprint in the PI, and we're looking at our workload from that PI, and we'll start to map it out, and then we determine what workload will go for which sprint. So when we do finalize all of that, then remember, this is just a draft, right? In pre-PI planning prep, we are still doing draft, because when we go to our PI itself, we'll do our readout. And hopefully then by the time we get to that position, we already finalize what we're going to be doing at what, and we have our PI goal, we have our PI objective as a team, and we also will then hopefully be close to having our capacity for the PI. So that's why it's very, very important to do all of this prior to PI planning. So let's say now we have our dependencies already been identified. We already identified our risks. We already have our story being broken down, and already like map out anything else, any challenges that we foresee that might happen before this PI. Then the next thing I will start the discussion of confidence votes, right? I know we do confidence votes during PI planning, yes, but I usually will start the conversation at the end of our pre-PI planning prep. Let's say we have like 2 more days left for our pre-PI planning prep. So now asking the team, okay, based on our work that we've been breaking down for the past 2 weeks, based on which sprints we've been determining what epic we go to, based on our user story, how we're mapping out, based on our dependency, our risks, and our capacity that we have for this PI, how confident are you all about us meeting our PI goal, our upcoming PI goal? Like, how confident are you? Just give a summary. You don't have to give numbers right now, because right now it's just about how people think so far on our pre-PI planning prep, how we are doing. So hopefully then, if people are not confident, let's say people are like, oh, I'm still not confident, there's still clarification needed in this epic, I still don't understand all of these requirements. And it's very, very important to do all those ahead of time, like assessing the way how the team think, and assessing on the way how people feel. Because hopefully then you will still have time to make any changes and make any clarification. So when you go to your PI planning, you also will continue to do that, but at least start ahead of time about the confidence on the PI. So then let's say we still need more data, they need still more clarification, or they are not confident with the dependency. That's something that we'll still have to further investigate. And then I'm writing down all those gaps, all those notes, and during PI planning itself, I will continue to address it. I hope all these little things that I've summarized the role of a Scrum Master prior to PI planning, I hope this have helped you. But it's very, very important to assess what you're currently working on, look at your overall goal, look at your overall PI objective, look at your sprints. Then you connect with the PO to get your potential epic you'll be working on. Then the next thing, you're also looking at how to split the epic to user story. Then you're also checking about the dedicated team, if you have enough team member, and the skill set and the resources needed to get the work done. You're also looking at your capacity planning, identifying your dependency, identifying your risks. And overall, if you can do this all ahead of time, there's a 100% chance you'll get a stress-free PI planning. I hope this helped. If it does, please let me know. I can do a lot of videos on PI planning. I have a lot of experience on PI planning. Have a wonderful day. Thank you all. If you find my content valuable, please subscribe to Aisha Scrum. I truly appreciate all the love and support. My goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by next year of August. Thank you all again. See you all again next time.